So in this video, I'm gonna talk about YouTube ad account structure and popular funnel strategies for 2022. YouTube ads, you can use it for all types of funnels. These are three major funnels that we use YouTube ads for in our account. I wanna say, just in general, YouTube ads, as far as quality, as far as scale, it's phenomenal, but it's really gonna work best for high ticket products. So just keep that in mind. If you're sending a doohickey for $10, YouTube ads is probably not the way to go. Now, let's go over the funnel. So, funnel one, YouTube ads lends itself a lot to info type products. But let's start off with e-com. So let's just say you have an e-com product. You probably want something in a higher price range for the most part, $60, $70, $100 plus ideally. The reason you want it that high is because you have to take into account, as good as your ad is going to be in YouTube ads, they're going to continue to be higher cost prices. As of now, a few years ago, getting sub $1 clicks was more common than it is today. Today, it's very common to get something $1.50 on the low end. $2, $2.30, $2.50, $2.50 is a more common click price right now. So if you have that and you have a conversion rate, e-com conversion rate, let's just say of 3%, that means 1 out of 30 clicks is gonna convert, right? So think about it, $2.50 times 30 clicks, that's $75. That's what you're looking at as a CPA with a 3% conversion rate. So if you have a $50 product and it doesn't work for you, assuming it's your own e-com product, right? If it's an e-com affiliate product and they have a higher offer payout, phenomenal. But if it's your own e-com product, you have cost of goods sold involved there. So these are things you have to take into account. Can you get your click cost closer to $1? Yes, of course you can. Anything is possible if your ad creative is very good. If you have a very high conversion rate, then obviously you have more leeway. If you have a continuity program in the back end where you get people to either purchase again, subscribe, then that's a whole different ball game. But usually when you have your YouTube ad going to e-com product, you're going to want your page to either maybe have a BSL, or you want to have your page have a very detailed advertorial, or your product page to be very descriptive, have testimonials on it, things of that nature. If you're trying to set up a Shopify shop, put a product, add to cart, and that's it, it's not going to work with YouTube ads. Now, mentioning this type of e-com funnel or landing pages that are ideal, take into account something that I mentioned earlier. You really wanna have your back end working, your email follow-ups, if you have a continuity program, an upsell, because that is where you're going to really take advantage of YouTube ads. Now, this is gonna be a theme with all of these funnels, because ideally, once again, click costs, you really can't compete with the fact that they will continue to go up while YouTube ads inventory continues to grow. There are gonna be more advertisers and click prices will continue to go up. So it's really important that your e-com funnel in the back end is really dialed in as far as increasing lifetime value, whether it's through continuity programs or really getting people to repurchase. The next type of funnel I want to talk about, and I'm going to steer more into info product, are webinar funnels. Webinars are still alive and well. People are still using them. And the webinar funnel, for those who aren't familiar, is pretty much you click on your ad, you get to your landing page, you give someone your email address, sometimes you give them a phone number, so on and so forth, and that person is signed up to a webinar. You have two types of webinars. You have live webinars and you have the auto webinars. Now, the live webinars, the cool thing about live webinars is that they tend to convert better. You get to get more feedback. And I would say if you're starting out, I would go with that because you get to understand what resonates with your audience in the beginning. The long term, people do like to set up automated webinars. While an automated webinar, I think at this point, I would hope at this point, people know that it's not live. But having said that, automated webinars do work and they work very well. The issue being that the conversion rate will usually be lower. It's harder to dial in that formula, but if you get that formula right, you do have a money maker. Now, when you're looking at these webinars, usually a webinar is made for some type of course. So let's think about this. Course pricing. On the low end, you may want to start out with $997. that's the lowest I would go for a course. This is assuming US traffic and US prices. The reasoning behind that is, once I said earlier, okay, let's just say $2 per click is going to be your cost per click. Usually the way it works is you're sending someone to sign up to give up their email. Now, a conversion rate for opt-in and YouTube ads, what I've seen with a lot of webinars, is usually anywhere between 17, 25%. Let's just say 20% to keep it an even number. That means 1 out of 5 clicks will become a lead, 20%, right? $2 cost per click, 1 out of 5 becomes a lead. So now you're getting $10 per lead. Now, let's just assume that of those leads, 1% of those people becomes a sale, right? So, which is it's a good baseline number to have in mind, 1% of people. So that means 1 out of 100, right? So if you're getting $10 leads, times that about 100, what do you have? You have a cost of purchase of $1,000, and you're selling your webinar for $997. Now, the cool thing about info products, your margins are huge, because you're really just spending on the technical products that you're using for your webinar, whatever you're using on the back end for your course, and those things don't really change much, whether it's 1,000 people signing up to your course or 1 person signing up to your course. But having said that, you just spent $1,000 to acquire someone for a $997 product. You don't have to be a math genius to know you're already losing $3 per sale. That's at a 1%. Now, how do you improve that? Well, you can improve the conversion rate on your webinar. That's gonna be trial and error. There is no exact science to it. It's just something that you're going to have to grab step by step, really track your webinar, where are people dropping off from your webinar, and improve on that part of your webinar if you're assuming it's an auto webinar going forward. Now, if you get your percentage to, let's just say 1.5%, that means that your cost price is probably a little bit closer to $750. Great, so it cost me $750 to get someone to buy my course, and so I'm making $200 profit. While that's cool, what's gonna happen is at scale, those numbers are going to get worse. Always think of that. And scale, I'm talking in the thousands, $5,000, $10,000 a day that you're spending. That's what I consider scale. Those numbers are gonna get worse. If you're setting up a business to just make money quickly with YouTube, and then you're gonna do this whole webinar and a course, that's cool, but I would think the whole power of YouTube is for scaling. So you wanna have that in mind. Now, this is where I said the theme is gonna be recurring. How do you mitigate? How do you make sure that, okay, I can get these webinar sales at $1,000 or $750 and yet still be profitable? That's when you stick in an upsell. You try to get an upsell, a higher price product for people that have purchased. If someone has purchased your initial product, they're more likely to trust you, assuming that you have a good product, right? And they're more willing to give you more money for the next step, especially if it takes them to where they want to be quicker. Once you have that upsell on the back end, then it makes more sense to have that webinar at around $997. Ideally, if you're running a webinar funnel, I would like a higher price point, something starting at $14.97 or $19.97. I don't make the rules for whatever reason. 7 is a magic number. Yes, it would be easier to say $2,000, $1,500. But let's just say $14.97 or $19.97, because a 1% conversion rate on a webinar is pretty realistic. If you have a phenomenal webinar and you're converting at 2%, you're making money hand over fist. Having said all that, you still want to, once you get that going and you get something slightly profitable or at least break even, you want to start thinking, okay, how can I ascend this person? What's the next product? How much value can I give this person down the road? And really have that $5,000, $10,000 product as an upsell. Imagine if you have 100 people buy your course, you got 5% of those people that decide to get your upsell of a $10,000 product, that's $50,000. Now you're in the profit. Now you're not worrying about, oh, my YouTube ads, certain placements, my costs are going up a bit. It doesn't matter, because now you're making money. And that's another great funnel to use for YouTube ads. The third funnel, which is actually my favorite type of funnel, which I've seen the most scale across the board, is a book call funnel for YouTube ads. A book call funnel, there are different variations, but on average is usually you send someone to a landing page, they give you the email address, they're shown a short video, it's like a mini webinar, short BSL, 10, 15 minutes. This is your goal, this is how we're gonna take you to your goal, this is what I've done for other people, you wanna have testimonials. Your whole goal there is to get someone to book a call with you, And in that call is where you're going to sell that person. You can sell products. I've seen people sell products as low as $5,000. I've seen people sell products as high as $30,000. It is possible. The goal here is not only getting people to book that call at a certain price, but it's also you want to have systems in place to follow up with the person correctly in email, make sure they show up to the phone call, and have a solid sales strategy. I cannot say this enough. In this type of funnel, the back end is definitely the end all be all. The back end being the follow-up for the customer, keeping them engaged, having the form have the right qualifying questions to increase and improve lead quality, and finally, really having a solid sales strategy. There is no reason that certain products will take longer to close, but this is about a sub $10,000 product. There's no reason that product cannot be closed in, I don't know, a 1-time or 2-time closes. So literally 1 to 3 days, right? So those are things you have to look at, and that's stuff that you have to get rid of, that limiting belief that you have to follow up with someone, that they don't have any money for whatever reasons. There's always reasons to not have money. It's just, you're just not selling them, your product's not good enough. So if you have those structures in place, I can tell you right now, YouTube ads is ideal traffic source. There are people spending, if not tens of thousands of dollars a day on YouTube ads profitably when they have those other things dialed in. And that's why it's one of my favorite funnels. I think if you have all those things dialed in, it could probably give you the best return, and definitely can put you as far as life-changing revenue or growth that you want. And that's where YouTube ads really, really shine. As far as the account structure in general, I still like to use one audience per campaign. I like to stick my ads in there. There are other ways of, I guess, more properly testing ads against each other. You can use video experiments where the audiences will not compete against each other. But in general, I do not like to use various audience and various campaigns. And the structure is still the same as far as what am I testing for first? Find a winning ad. What's a winning ad? A winning ad is first something that gives you the best costs. It's usually the highest CTR, not all the time, but it's usually the highest CTR. The next step, boom, is my ad giving me my first step of the funnel, which for the info products or leads, for e-com products, there really usually is no other step. It's usually, if you have a landing page, let's just say advertorial, and you can track the click-through rate, that's one thing to look at. But ideally for e-com, I like to stick to the main thing, which is the purchase. But for the info products, it's usually, can I get a lead? Okay, am I getting the lead prices where I need to get them? Once again, leads, usually on the low end, 17%. If you're lower than that, you're very, very low. If you're 40%, phenomenal, right? You don't have a problem there. The next step is if you are, it's a webinar, it's your webinar conversion rate. How many of my leads convert at 1%? Can I get them to convert at 2%, 1.5% on a consistent basis? If it's a book call funnel, you're gonna want to see anywhere from 8 to 12% of your leads converting. That's how you know your cost prices for your book call leads. And for the book call funnel, now you have to follow up. How many of those people actually show up to the call? How many of the people that show up to the call actually close? If you can tweak any of those numbers, that's gonna be a difference between you losing money on YouTube ads and saying that YouTube ads does not work and you being the next internet sensation because of YouTube ads. So, in summary, e-com funnel, make sure the price is high enough in your back end, you have some kind of continuity program or upsell. For a webinar funnel, make sure that your webinar conversion rate is good enough, and ideally have an upsell or program to follow up if you want it to be very profitable. And for the book call funnel, make sure that your lead to book call conversion rate is in a respectable area. Anything less than 8% is probably not good. And make sure you have email follow-ups and that your sales team is on point and they're closing people. Remember, just because someone books a call, it doesn't mean they're saying, hey, I wanna buy your program. You still gotta sell them on the program that you're selling. And make sure that your price point is at a point that really reflects the value that you're giving. A lot of people like to underprice themselves and not believe that they're giving them the value, and they might say, oh, $4,000 because that's, I can't charge $10,000. You'd be surprised what you can charge. As long as you're giving people the results that they need, you can charge at higher prices. And once you have those things in place, as you noticed in the beginning when I talked about YouTube ads account structure, yes, you're testing for ads, you're testing for audiences, and you're trying to see if you get lead prices. But really, if you want to take things to the next level, it's about those back-end numbers. Are you keeping those numbers in line to the point where you can be extremely profitable in the long term? Now, if you want to see more videos about YouTube ads, feel free to check out our channel. It's totally free. However, if you really want to get a detailed step-by-step process, join us on our weekly calls. Feel free to click on the link and see if our course is for you.